Death is a funny thing in the world of comics and is far less permanent than its real-life counterpart. Often used to shock readers, popular characters who meet the axe are typically brought back down the line in order to re-shock readers all over again. In the land of the heroes, seemingly immortal, or near enough to it, characters such as Superman and Wolverine have fallen foul of death only to triumphantly return later on down the road. Immortality, however, has always been a gift granted to villains more than heroes, with countless ancient entities making their presence felt in the present day. One thing nearly all of them have in common: their undying ways come to a swift and satisfying end when they foolishly mess with the wrong hero, or even fellow villain in some instances. While death is about as permanent as a broken nail to these all-powerful baddies, it's often a big deal in the moment, and a frequent curiosity lies in just how the heroes finally, temporarily, rid themselves of their hated foe. So in the spirit of looking at old, immortal things, I'm Ewan, this is What Culture Comics, and here are 10 immortal comic book villains and how they died. Number 10. Mr. Sinister. The diabolical Nathaniel Essex is in fact the most youthful member of this list, despite him having been around since Victorian times. A servant of En Saboneur, Essex was granted an all-new, all-mutated body from his master, allowing him to manipulate his own molecular structure. With him being ageless and a master regenerator, it's safe to say Sinister's hard to slaughter. All the same, Sinister's succumbed to death a fair few times now, and in a variety of realities. Most famously, Mystique took the mad scientist out by pressing him against the unconscious body of especially deadly X-Man Rogue, until every last ounce of life in him had left the building. He has also died at the hands of Hope Summers more recently. Number 9. Vandal Savage. The ancient Vandal Savage is the number 1 contender for oldest, still-kicking human being in the entire DC universe. Having been around since the beginning, literally, there was a time when old Vandal was just a humble caveman, he finds himself exposed to cosmic radiation of a freshly crash-landed meteor. Despite radiation's appalling track record on the human body in reality, in comics it's just great and dandy, and in this case, Caveman Vandal becomes the immortal Vandal we've grown to love to hate. A major rogue to several heroes of the DC universe, Savage can be linked to many of the biggest and nastiest events throughout human history. Immortal? Yes. Invulnerable, however? Nope. During the continuity-breaking lunacy that was Flashpoint, Savage finds himself dead at the hands of the Flash, proving that even the longest rides have to come to an end eventually. In a considerably more embarrassing moment he'd sooner we all forget, Savage died rather clumsily by his own hand in a freak accident during DC 1 million. Nevertheless, like most of the deceased in comic books, Savage keeps recovering from death the same way Josh Brown recovers from mispronounced comic book names, i.e. repeatedly and to our pleasure. Number 8. Necron. One of the spookier rogues in the DC canon, Necron is the lord of the land of the unliving, or, just dead, and spends most of his days living there, away from the plane of existence the DC heroes dwell in. He has full control over the dead, who serve his every whim and whimsy. So deadly is Necron that when taking on the full might of the Green Lantern Corps, they're kind of the underdogs. Fortunately, as is usually the case with these big bads, Necron has some very severe flaws in his game. 1. He spent so much time in his deadland that he's not accustomed to being in the land of the living, and must bide his time for rifts between the worlds to open. And 2. When the heroes bond with a being even more powerful than himself. When Earth's finest fuse with the seemingly all-powerful entity, they are able to resurrect Necron's trusted undead prophet, the Black Hand, damaging Necron's connection to the land of the living and allowing the heroes to finally terminate the DCU's gnarly take on the Grim Reaper. Number 7. Mephisto. Always big on a good old satanic panic, Marvel has provided readers with countless incarnations of the devil himself. Mephisto is the most prominent of these many fallen angel equivalents, having done battle with many major heroes including the Silver Surfer, Daredevil, Thor, and Ghost Rider. As one would expect from a hellish devil figure, Mephisto's hellfire and brimstone enriched realm is a place of deceased sinners to enjoy torture of the soul for all eternity. It doesn't stop there with Mephisto, however. These days, he's best known as a pariah to comic book readers everywhere thanks to his leading role in worst Spider-Man story of all time, God I hate it, One More Day. For all those readers, take solace in the fact that Mephisto's been brutally murdered multiple times. After kidnapping the Fantastic Four for his own sadistic amusement, Mephisto was eviscerated by the young and preposterously powerful Franklin Richards. The Four's old pal, the Silver Surfer, has also sent Mephisto to the afterlife on occasion. Also, unsurprisingly, is the fact that Mephisto's parenting leaves a lot to be desired, and his son, Ghost Rider Nemesis Blackheart, has strolled down Patricide Lane, seemingly impressing his old man in the process. Number 6. Ra's al Ghul. When it comes to depopulation enthusiast Ra's al Ghul, you can go ahead and put an asterisk next to his immortality. Aging like any mortal, Ragnarok Ghoul can reinvigorate himself thanks to his handy access to seemingly endless Lazarus pits. The pits have in turn allowed him to live and wreak havoc for more than 1,000 years. Thanks to the pits being able to resurrect the recently deceased, writers from various mediums have often had fun with giving him the Solomon Grundy treatment. His most infamous comic book death, however, comes at the hands of his own family, when his daughters Nisia and Talia do away with him during a rough-running low on Lazarus pits phase in his life. Luckily for the demon's head, revival is always just a pit bath away, and lo and behold, he always finds one. Number 5. The AntiMonitor. Like a considerably less aesthetically pleasing Galactus with a much bigger appetite, the AntiMonitor was the central villain of the legendary Crisis on Infinite Earth saga back in 1985. Billed as the deadliest villain to ever menace the DC multiverse, AntiMonitor's reality-killing ways led to one of the biggest hero alliances ever put to page. Causing the deaths of famous characters such as Supergirl and Barry Allen's Flash, AntiMonitor was eventually defeated when everyone from Animal Man to Superman to even Darkseid got their licks in, with Earth 2 Superman finally finishing the monster off with one big punch. The ramifications of AntiMonitor's actions led to the first of several universe-wide reboots for the DC heroes. More of a sporadic threat in the years since, AntiMonitor was obliterated by the near-omnipotent hothead Superboy Prime in the acclaimed Sinestro Core Wars event. Most recently, the AntiMonitor fell victim, like so many before him, to the perils of the anti-life equation courtesy of Steve Trevor, of all people. Number 4. Apocalypse. Marvel's most Darwinian villain will tell you that he's immortal, invulnerable, and inevitable. In a bit of good news for just about everyone else, however, Mr. Survival of the Fittest is indeed very killable and has fallen victim to his hated foes, the X-Men, on numerous occasions. A master manipulator, Apocalypse has engineered wars, global takeovers, and all manner of supervillain hijinks to further his nefarious ambitions. Most famous of Ensabanour's many mortifications comes in the Age of Apocalypse series, where a heroic Magneto uses every ounce of his own mutant strength to tear the ancient menace in half. As Wolverine has learned the hard way many times, don't bring metal to a Magneto fight. During the Apocalypse War saga, Ensabanour also takes a fatal tumble at the hands of everyone's favorite blue-tailed circus performer, Nightcrawler. He even had to take his licks from Nimrod in the House of X/Powers of 10 reboot. Number 3. Galactus. Marvel's monstrous planet muncher has killed billions in his ongoing quest to satisfy his cosmic hunger. I mean, same. One of the biggest threats in all the Marvel pantheon, Galactus was reborn into the Marvel Universe in his current terrifying form after being Galen from the planet Tar, the sole survivor of a previous, now deceased universe. Galactus' herald-turned-foe, the Silver Surfer, took him out completely by using Galactus' world-consuming machine against the giant himself. This major moment took place during a miniseries centered on Galactus himself and would not be the last time Big Purple was sent packing to the afterlife. He proved to be a Christmas-sized feast for the Marvel Zombies and is one of many immortal figures to be taken out in the Age of Apocalypse timeline by Magneto and friends. Number 2. Darkseid. The Lord of Apocalypse is so ridiculously evil that he's often referred to as the God of Evil in DC Comics. A major piece of work, the anti-life equation enthusiast has received his deadly comeuppance on more than one occasion. British invasion favourite Grant Morrison has killed the megavillain off more than once. First, during the JLA Rock of Ages saga, where an alternate timeline involving Darkseid as the ruler of Earth is revealed. He is straight up assassinated by the dynamic duo of Green Arrow and the Atom after Arrow fires the Atom into Darkseid's face. From there, the Atom transforms into light particles and demolishes Darkseid's mind, which, oi, that's gotta hoit. During Countdown to Final Crisis, Darkseid dies at the hands of his warrior son Orion, but it didn't end there for the big man. He resurrects into the body of poor old Dan Turpin during Final Crisis, where first Batman breaks all the rules to put a Radion bullet in Darkseid before the Black Racer later swoops in to carry him off to the next life. Oh my god, it is so cool, please read Final Crisis. And number 1, Thanos. Comic book Thanos is a death-worshipping nihilist out to destroy everything he touches. When it comes to assembling the Infinity Gems into his precious gauntlet, Thanos wants them to achieve godhood and to impress Death into finally going on a romantic date with him. Again, same. In order to court his beloved, Thanos takes great pleasure in killing by the million wherever he goes, and is understandably one of the most feared figures in all of Marvel Comics. But hey, we all love a bit of freshly steamed irony here at What Culture Towers, and it's with that in mind that it seems only fitting that a character who worships death will one day succumb to it. During an epic clash with the considerably more powerful, more serious comics incarnation of Drax the Destroyer, Thanos suffered a literal version of what death frequently makes him feel when Drax ripped his heart out. Thanos' death here was the climax of the popular Annihilation event, and was not the last time we'd see the Mad Titan meet his end. Look, just go check out Marvel Zombies if you want to have a bit of a vom over the whole thing. No way am I going back there after seeing Sand-Induced Death Spider-Man. No way. No.